And I just had to figure it out. And I uploaded my first video on YouTube, and I thought it would be like 7 videos. I'll tell you my story in 7 videos, and then I'm going to quit. Well, I had a lot more to say, and people started watching them, and I started to get a lot of traction. I've had a lot of videos go viral, and I've been very blessed with the success online.
You've just heard an intro from Jessica Kent, who runs a YouTube channel that's called Ride or Die. Jessica is an amazing young woman who served multiple terms in jails and prisons, but after getting out the last time, she just made a commitment to transform her life. You can see that she's built a very successful YouTube channel with 322,000 subscribers. She speaks about addiction. She speaks about overcoming struggle. She speaks about prison reform. You can see that every month more than 1 million people listen to her and watch her. She's got incredible engagement on her channel, and she's going to be talking with us today about the ways that she overcame these challenges. You can look at some of her most popular videos right here, and if I hit sort by most popular, you can just see how popular she is. This one she speaks about in this series of videos. I Had a Baby in Prison, with 1.5 million views. She has this one, What Really Happens in Prison Showers, 1.2 million views. You can see that Prison Habits, that she still has 1 million views. So she's really built an amazing platform. And this is something that should interest you if you're wanting to build a career around your own story. YouTube is a great platform that will help you do that. And Jessica Kent is just the person you need to be hearing from. Because this video is more than an hour long, I have broken it into different segments. So just follow along. I'm going to break it into 4 or 5 segments depending on where it's going. And they will be labeled on the segment itself as part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So I hope that you enjoy and go from one to the next. And if you haven't subscribed to Prison Professors yet, I do hope that you will do so. Thank you. Welcome to Prison Professors. Today, I am super enthusiastic to introduce you to a bona fide superstar, somebody who was in prison and didn't just waste her time, but really prepared herself in a way to transform her life and come back to achieve a level of success that is on an unprecedented scale. She is more successful than people that graduate from Harvard or Cornell or USC, built her own media empire. So impressed with her, and I can't wait to introduce her to you. So this is Jessica Kent from the famous Jessica Kent YouTube channel. Jessica, thanks so much for being with Prison Professors.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here to talk to you guys for a little bit. So thank you.
So Jessica, just so you know, we are bringing these episodes into jails and prisons across America. You are going to have the opportunity to speak and to communicate with women in every state prison in California, as well as people who are working through our programs on various digital devices in jails and prisons. So they are people that are really interested in your message. And I would just love it if you could tell our audience a little bit about your background and what brought you into the system.
Yeah, of course. So for me, I got arrested for the first time at 14. And I did the math yesterday, and I was actually on some form of supervision from 14 to 28. It's a long time. So it started out with normal stuff, normal meaning like breaking the law, normal stuff. I was underage drinking and fighting, and I was just always in trouble. I caught my first case when I was almost 17, and it was criminal sales of a controlled substance. And when I caught that case, someone actually overdosed on pills I had sold them. Now that should have been a wake-up call, because it's not just my life. This is someone else's life. What I was doing was dangerous and it was irresponsible, but I had a criminal mentality still, and my attitude was just insane. And I ended up threatening that kid. He had to get a restraining order on me, and it was just a mess because you snitched, and I gotta defend my reputation, and you can't snitch on me. I can't go to prison over you. So I was very upset at that. But that kind of set in motion coming in and out of the system for me. I was always in and out on violation for doing just whatever I wanted to do, because I never took it seriously. So I'd fail drug test after drug test. I'd abscond, go on the run, come back, get busted for a really long time. And then I caught my last bid when I was 22, I believe. And that was a whole bunch of felonies. I had ran from New York. They had felonies for me there. Arkansas got me on possession with intent of methamphetamine, delivery of meth, and a gun charge. And I fought for 6 months to get what they wanted to be a 20-year sentence cut down to 5. And that was like winning the lottery to me. I'm like, 5 years, I can do 5 years. That's not a problem. I can't do 20. I don't have time for that. So I fought my case and I studied my ass off through learning through other people what Arkansas state law was, because it's super complicated there. I still can't explain it very well, but yeah, I got sentenced to 5 years on my last bid.
Well, you went into the system quite a few times, and sadly, like a lot of people, they keep going in and out. But you really turned your life into an incredibly positive direction, and you did it in a relatively quick time. When did you get out of prison the last time, and help our audience understand a little bit about how you made that transition?
So my daughter was born while I was in prison. I found out I was pregnant when I got arrested, October of 2011. And finding that out was the most heartbreaking thing. You think going to prison would be heartbreaking for me, but it wasn't. I knew how to go to prison. I just didn't know how to go pregnant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know anybody that had done that before. So the change in my mind and in my heart happened when my daughter was born, because it's like, whoa, it's not just about you anymore. This is about your kid, So I kind of started to distance myself from certain people that I was doing time with. There's a lot of negative mindsets in prison, as y'all know. So I started to kind of isolate myself and really look inward. Like, what did you do to get here? Why are you here? What decisions did you make? How can you learn from this? And that took time. The first year of my last bid, I was very bitter and resentful and angry. And I wanted to fight back so many things. I wanted to fight the system, and I didn't have any respect for correctional officers. I was very just hostile and violent. I was getting put in segregation. And finally, it just went off. Like the light bulb just finally lit up. When I saw my daughter's face when she was born, I looked at her and I was just like, you better figure it out. You better stop this. You better be there for that little girl, because she didn't ask to be here. You brought her into this world. It's your job to take care of her. And
what was that like, Jessica? Help our audience understand, because most of our audiences in jails and prisons, but their families watch this too. And I really want to encourage you, if you're a family member watching this in the Liberty, subscribe to the Jessica Kent YouTube channel. It is we're really going to be talking about that in a little bit, and you get a lot of her story there. But what was it like to have a baby and be in prison? And what was the experience like? Did they take the baby from you? Did you get to spend time bonding with a baby?
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York, and all growing up, I knew of a program that you keep your baby. So I was desperate for an interstate compact to go back to New York, because I knew I'd be able to keep my daughter. They have an 18-month program there and a whole nursery. Arkansas does not. And it's gut-wrenching what they do. There's really no way around that. So once my daughter was born, I was immediately chained to the bed. And after 48 hours, they come in and they physically remove me from the room, put my daughter in foster care, and I go right back to prison. And during that, I suffered from extreme postpartum depression and PTSD. So they kept me in the infirmary. Just to kind of give you the cliff notes here, they kept me in the infirmary for a couple of weeks because I was unable to speak and even articulate what was going on in my mind. And to be in a GP unit, you have to at least talk to the intake people, and I was just kept in isolation because I was just not okay. You could tell. I looked like I was shell-shocked. That's what other correctional officers told me later, that we just thought you went to war or something. You left in labor and you came back a different person. And hearing that back from them, I have very vague memories of them talking to me when I came back, because I was just so traumatized. I just lost the only thing in the world I ever loved, and it was an instant love. I instantly wanted to protect her and be there for her. And now she's gone, and I didn't know what to do. This little person that was with me for 9 months is now no longer with me. So it was a really difficult transition. But in that, I was able to find strength. I was like, you need to get your ass up out of this infirmary. You need to go back to GP. You need to take classes. You need to do parenting. You need to do everything you possibly can do to use this time to your advantage. Stop wasting time, and it just dawned on me one day to get up and start fighting.
I'll put some links to the story for those of you who are at home and want to watch the actual story where Jessica talks at length about being a mother in prison. But you did find that strength, Jessica, and you got out. How long was it after you had your baby that you returned to society?
So she was almost 2. Or no, she was, I'm so bad at math. 14 months, 15 months,
How
something like
long did
that.
so that was how many years ago?
She's 8 now. So
So
it's been a while.
so it's been 6 years or so that you've been home. Help us understand your transition into society after so many journeys in the system. And I know that now you're really successful, but 6 years, what was the trajectory like?
You hear 6 years, and I always thought that was a long time. It's really not. It goes by so fast. So I got released to a halfway house. I had nowhere else to go in the state of Arkansas. My friends were either still in prison or deported. So I had no one to lean on, no family. So at the halfway house, I got my first job in prison shower shoes because I didn't even have sneakers, and I told the boss, they're like, I'll be here every day. I'll work 12-hour days. I don't even have shoes, man. Like, I need this job. I was very upfront. So I got a job as a telemarketer. Then I got a second job at a vapor store. And my whole first year home was filled with obstacles, and it was very difficult. And I think your first year out is supposed to be. It teaches you a lot of stuff. I salute that struggle. I respect that struggle. And if it wasn't for that, I'm not sure I'd be talking to you guys today. In all of the obstacles that I was able to overcome, I realized that I can do this. I can stay sober. I can work 2 jobs. I can get my daughter back. And it was a very long, stressful journey. But after about a year, I got sole custody of my daughter. And once I walked out of that courtroom with her, I was like, you can do anything. Like, if you did this, you're going to be unstoppable. And it made me want to chase after something, anything. So at first, I never thought I'd be a YouTuber or tell my story. I was just like, girl, stay sober, go to school, get a bachelor's degree, which I now have. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology. And very slowly, I decided, well, you have extra time. How can you work harder? What are you doing to maximize that? How can you be more successful today than you were yesterday? So it took a while, but 6 years is not that long. That's pretty fast.
It's incredibly fast. And what's really powerful, I think, to many of the people in our audience is they aspire to do something like you've done, in the sense that, I mean, I've been in jails and prisons and brought this program in, and I've spoken about you before as a role model when they have spoken or expressed ideas that they want to get into substance abuse treatment or help others with addiction. And there's a lot of pathways that people can choose. They can go and get a license and get their educational credentials, but they can have as much of an influence or an impact, or possibly more of an impact, if they can get their story out. Because we like to learn from people who are like us. The only reason people listen to me is because I was in prison for 26 years. And I know that that's the reason that people will listen to those other people in jail and prison, but you're somebody who's done it. And I'd love it if you could walk our audience through this process that you created to build the Jessica Kent program, which is a phenomenal resource for anybody who is trying to overcome addictions.
That was a lot. That was a lot to ask. But so the whole YouTube thing, I didn't think I was going to share my story on the internet because, quite frankly, the internet scared me. I knew that I'd get met with a lot of criticism and judgment because my past is not positive, but I just knew that if I could articulate it in a way that people didn't feel defensive, because when you talk about prison reform, people get really defensive about that. They don't understand it. Or if you talk about addiction, a lot of times they have somebody has been hurt by a drug addict. I definitely have hurt a lot of people in my life. So I wanted to articulate it in a way that people didn't feel the need to be defensive when hearing it. I found creative ways to talk about it. But I originally started volunteering, making little videos for a reentry class at the same prison that I went to. And when that kind of got taken away from me because the teacher decided to just quit one day, I was like, whoa, bro, I got a lot more to say. Like, you can't just quit. That's not cool. So I decided to self-teach myself how to use equipment. And I'm 31, so I had like 10-year-olds on YouTube teaching me how to use a camera, and I'm like, this is really offensive. And I just had to figure it out, and I uploaded my first video on YouTube, and I thought it would be like 7 videos. I'll tell you my story in 7 videos, and then I'm going to quit. Well, I had a lot more to say, and people started watching them, and I started to get a lot of traction. I've had a lot of videos go viral, and I've been very blessed with the success online.